Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Today, we're exploring a truly profound synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience. We are pulling directly from Chapter 9 of the fascinating book, Hidden Balance Within Modern Chaos. And specifically, we're zeroing in on a section titled Trauma's Forge and the Birth of Resilience. So if you're someone who values efficient, highly structured learning about how the human mind actually processes extreme adversity, you are absolutely in the right place. Right here is our source text for today. Now, this chapter tackles the visceral, very grounded reality of how trauma acts as literally a forge within the human nervous system. It's not just theoretical, you know? It explores that deeply intimate space where the laws of nature and human psychology are actually felt in the body. Our goal today is to extract the core mechanisms from this text and show you exactly how this profound tempering process works.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The architecture of reality. 2. Polarizing the nervous system. 3. Finding order in disorder. 4. Science meets ancient scrolls. 5. The Forge Breath exercise. And finally, 6. The birth of resilience. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The architecture of reality. Let's look at the ancient wisdom behind all this.
Okay, let's dive into this. The chapter actually kicks off with this incredible ancient quote from Laozi in the Tao Te Ching. And the author makes a great point here. Laozi wasn't just being poetic. He was describing the actual architecture of reality. The text argues that trauma is the exact place where this interdependence becomes a visceral reality. The really crucial takeaway here is that the fracture and the mending within a traumatic event, they aren't sequential. They don't happen one after the other. They are completely simultaneous. Even though, as human beings, it might take us years to perceive both sides of that coin.
Moving on to Section 2, Polarizing the Nervous System, the Descent.
So what happens when our nervous system just gets totally overwhelmed? Well, according to the text, it does exactly what Taoist philosophy describes. It polarizes into stark contrasts. On the left, we've got hyperarousal, or a yang runaway, and on the right, collapse, or a yin shutdown, which is characterized by freeze. Both of these extremes are just frantic attempts by your body to resolve an unbearable surge of survival energy, what is effectively a massive autonomic charge. But the text reveals this hidden mechanism. Even in the absolute depths of that yin state, the dark night of the soul, something is actively being tempered. The old psychological structure, which the author argues was probably built on illusion anyway, is being burned away so a much more accurate instrument can form.
That brings us to Section 3, Finding Order in Disorder, the Turning Point.
Now, the author brings in the methodology of Dr. John DeMartini, and it poses these incredibly rigorous questions. What is the hidden benefit within this trauma? Where is the order inside the apparent disorder? Now, let's be really clear here. Asking this is absolutely not about denying the horror or the injustice of an event, not at all. Rather, it's about completing the psychological waveform. It demands this ruthless honesty to look straight into the darkness and seek out the organizing principle.
And here's why that is so vital. Healing happens when your mind is no longer violently split between pure loss and pure rage. By asking those difficult questions, the intense autonomic charge trapped in the body actually begins to discharge. You begin to perceive the simultaneous emergence of strength, compassion, and mission. And according to the text, those elements simply could not have been born any other way.
Section 4, Science Meets Ancient Scrolls, the Synthesis.
This part is honestly astonishing. The source text explicitly links these philosophical concepts to modern research. We have 2,500-year-old texts perfectly predicting what our clinical data and modern fMRI scans are showing us today. Concepts like post-traumatic growth studied by Tedeschi and Calhoun, polyvagal mapping by Porches, and the broader neuroscience of resilience, they all completely echo the old scrolls. These totally distinct fields of study are confirming the exact same phenomenon. Profound reorganizations of identity very often follow severe dysregulation.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core theme here. Post-traumatic growth actually requires the perceptual field to eventually become balanced. The text uses a really powerful metaphor for this. The exact same intensity of heat can either forge a sword or it can shatter it entirely. The difference isn't the heat itself, right? The difference is whether the metal, or in our case, the human mind, is allowed to remember both forces, the destructive force and the ordering force.
So what does this actually look like in reality? Let's walk through these real-world archetypes provided in the text. We have the soldier, whose deep moral injury becomes the exact seed for a brand new ethics of peace. The woman whose childhood betrayal awakens this unrelenting, fierce commitment to protect the innocent, and the whistleblower, whose destroyed career and threatened life resulted in a single act that shifted an entire regulatory system. In every single case outlined here, the trauma acted as both the destroyer and the initiator. To see only one half is to remain a slave to the trauma. To see both is to become its master, without ever denying its cost.
Looking at the full breadth of the chapter text here, we're going to use this wider context to pivot a bit. We've established the theoretical framework, the biological mechanisms, the real-world examples. Now we are going to extract the highly practical, actionable application that the author provides in the second half of this text.
Section 5. The Forge Breath Exercise. Here are the actionable steps.
So the text outlines this step-by-step process to actually help your nervous system stop choosing sides. Step 1. Sit quietly and allow your body to feel the full contraction of the event. The grief, the rage, the terror, without any resistance. You are fully embracing that yin pole. Step 2 brings in DeMartini's rigor. Ask yourself exactly what specific benefit or evolutionary necessity came from this. And, this is key, write until you have at least 20 clear, specific answers. Do not just stop at surface-level platitudes. Push through. Finally, step 3. As the charge in your body shifts, place one hand on your heart, one on your belly, and utilize the Taoist cosmic breath. You inhale the support of order, and you exhale the destructive force, feeling them as two wings of the exact same bird.
And finally, Section 6, the birth of resilience, the emergence.
The text defines the state beautifully as Wu Wei in motion, basically effortless action. True resilience isn't some brittle return to exactly who you were before the event. No way. It's the emergence of a being who now moves with the spiral of life instead of constantly fighting against it. A forged nervous system no longer wages war on the law of polarity. It becomes responsive, incredibly precise, and most importantly, empty enough to carry a much greater energetic charge without distortion. Resilience isn't just a concept you think about anymore. It literally becomes your native state of being.
The author leaves us with some really deep reflective questions, and I want to pose this directly to you. What traumatic event still carries a one-sided charge in your system right now? Where do you still need to honor the genuine pain without letting that pain completely obscure the simultaneous ordering force that was born right alongside it? It's a heavy question for sure, but it is an incredibly efficient way to locate exactly where your own nervous system might be stuck.
I'm going to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought from the very end of the chapter. The fire does not ask permission. It only asks whether we will become useful. Once you have been forged, the ultimate question is whether you will use that hard-won resilience to serve the world around you or merely to protect the small self that survived. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I will see you in the next one.